So good morning or good evening or good night. Depends on the time that you're watching this, but for us, it's good morning. And I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, somebody who is a partner with us, and that's Albert here from House of Power. House of Power provide us all of our electrical work throughout all of our homes. We've worked with them for several years. And it's been a very successful partnership. People always ask me, how well do you know your trades? So I thought, we would sit down and talk with Albert, and maybe he can explain some of the things that he does so well. Albert, thanks for meeting with me today.
Yeah, thank you.
No, you're welcome, mate. So let's start a little bit with, if you don't mind, with your background, right? Because how long have you been owning and operating House of Power?
Actually, 30 years this October.
Okay, how is it that you look like you're 30 years younger than me?
Well, it's a little Asian in me, I guess.
It's the Asian persuasion.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, you're fortunate. So that's quite a body of work. Now, is your business mainly set up for residential or commercial application?
We do 99.9% residential.
Okay. If you were to guess, how many houses a year do you think that you provide electrical services to?
Right now, it's on average of 1,000 to 1,400. But before, at one time in 2007, we were probably doing about 4,000 homes a year.
Wow. And that's new construction?
New construction.
All new construction. So you probably work for some of the bigger companies, not like little Royal Texan, but some of the bigger companies as well. So why work with companies like mine? Why Royal Texan?
Well, after 30 years of service to, almost everybody in Houston, I've gotten to the point where I really like having deep relationships with our customers versus, on the other hand, kind of being like just another trade.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Have you always been an electrician?
Pretty much.
Pretty much?
I started doing electrical work when I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow. So you know it, you've been through the evolutions. What is there in terms of keeping up to date with standards, training? Does the state have any kind of licensure requirements for electricians? How does all of that work?
So when you start as an electrician, you do 5 years of an apprenticeship, working under a master, going to school. After that, you're eligible to take a journeyman's exam or a residential wireman's exam. If you pass that test, you can, take the hours and do your master's. So basically, that's what I did. I worked up the chain. I was actually the youngest person to get my Houston Journeyman's license back when the actual municipalities gave the tests. Now it's all state run. So every year after you get your license now, you have to do a refresher course. And that's really about it. You pay the fee and do your refresher course, and you keep up with the codes with manufacturers. I mean, there's just so many different moving parts with electrical, but it's pretty standard.
Okay. Over the time then, you've probably seen, quite an evolution of things. What do you think has been the biggest challenges or the biggest changes that have caused the biggest challenges to your business or to electrical work generally in that period of time for residential? Any moments, whether it's 30 years ago or 30 minutes ago, that have really kind of made you go, man, this is a challenge. I don't think they've thought about this, or now we've got to overcome that. What have been the biggest changes that you've seen in your industry that you've had to come to terms with?
I think, the National Electrical Code changes every 3 years. They update it. I guess one of the main difficulties we've had is when a new code comes out, like arc faults or dual function breakers, the manufacturers are, behind, and they're trying to, create this technology for the new code. And there's obviously issues with a lot of that. So that's probably been the biggest hurdle that I can remember, is those specific breakers.
So for example, like the issues that people have with dryers, they get a brand new house and their dryer's causing tripping. Was that an example of that?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That is a big one.
That must be fun for you.
It's amazing.
So talk us through that. What happened?
That was one of the latest code changes where basically the NEC says, hey, all dryers need ground fault and a ground fault breaker on the dryer. So the manufacturers, when they make this dryer, they bond the neutral and the ground together. When we do this and we put our ground fault breaker on it with the ground and neutral touching inside the dryer, it automatically trips the breaker. Yeah. So since we are not an appliance person, we don't personally go in and disconnect that for liability reasons.
So many reasons. Not least of all warranty, liability, everything else.
Correct. So what happens is the homeowner says, hey, I've had this dryer in my previous house for 10 years, never had this issue. I'm in a brand new house. Why is this happening? So they're blaming it on the electrician. They're not understanding that, hey, this is actually a manufacturer's appliance issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you seeing, by the way, manufacturers changing that now? Are they beginning to catch up?
I think that they're working with the manufacturer of, the breakers, and they're working that technology out in between them because it is starting to get a little bit better than it was.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm totally going to put you on the spot. Okay. So, Royal Texan Homes. Let's talk about what we do, together and what we put in those homes. But I'd also like you to talk about, from your perspective, are any of those things unique, right? So let's talk about, and let's run through things that we do that are unique, that we put in our homes. And let's talk about why those things are useful and why people should really be interested in that. But then also, if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about your experience from your perspective with us and how that compares to other people you may have worked with in the past or currently or whatever. So let's start with, safety is a big thing for me, and I'm sure it is for obviously for you. With, how we put our homes together, let's look at the aspects. Where do you think we're doing a good job, and why are those things important, and what do they do?
I really like the upgrades you guys are putting in your homes. The biggest one is the wire size. So National Electrical Code says you can use 14 gauge wire. You guys have it standard for 12 gauge wire, which is a larger size wire. The way this helps out is Dyson and all these other companies are making, 20 or 12 amp vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
So if you have a 14 amp circuit, the max you can use is 12 amps. If you have a bunch of other stuff on that circuit and you're using this 12 amp vacuum cleaner, you're gonna have issues.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's one of the biggest things.
And that's because from the code perspective, you're only allowed to have up to 80% load.
Correct.
On that circuit.
Yeah.
Right?
So 14 gauge wire is 12 amps. 12 gauge wire is 16 amps. So basically, you have 16 amps available on your, branch circuits for your, general lighting and everything else. So that's a big one. And there's very few people that do that.
Right.
There's a couple cities that require it, but most, if you're in the county, city of Houston or other, areas like that, they, you can use 14 gauge wire.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest one. It's great. Another thing you guys do that I like is we're installing all premium copper bus panels.
Yeah. How often have you encountered people that do that as a standard?
Very rare. It is very rare.
Okay.
I have you guys as my only builder that, specifically spec that out for every house that they do.
What do you think? I mean, I know why I do it, but why do you think that makes a difference?
I mean, obviously, copper is way better than aluminum. The heat, just the quality of the panel is a lot better.
Yeah, and that includes just the convenience of being able to see the flags when something's tripped, so you know where it is.
All premium panels come with flag breakers. The builder grade panels, they do not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's talk about whole house surge protection. Doing that in a house, I think is very important. Why do you think it's very important?
Well, National Electrical Code now says that we need whole house surge protectors. So we are doing that. One of the great things about it is the manufacturer gives a warranty on it. So if something happens, they can call us. We basically get with the manufacturer, and if you've had a surge and it has damaged some of your electronics or something else like that, we get the manufacturer involved, and you can get refunded for some of the damage that's happened to your house.
Okay.
I mean, it will not, if there's a lightning strike or something like that, it's not going to cover it, a direct hit.
Right.
But as far as a surge from, center point or energy or whoever your power provider is, it protects on situations like that.
And they're pretty robust, right? I mean, when you do get a surge through the system, they work.
Yeah, so basically, our surges have a green light on it. When that green light goes out, you know that surge did its job.
Yeah.
And it did what it's supposed to do, but obviously now it needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's insightful. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Please don't feel uncomfortable. Is there anything you like about us? Is there anything you like about working with us? Is there anything we do well has really struck you over the years that we've been working together?
For us, I think there's a couple things. We've got the way you do your POs and your system, extras, red lines, it's all taken care of before the job. So when we go out to your job, we know how to build the house without, having an extra walkthrough, doing things after the fact. There's a lot of things that you guys prepare us for that, a lot of other builders, we do it as we're going. And I think that helps out a lot with the complete build.
Okay.
So another thing is you guys pay your bills great. I love that.
Everyone likes to get paid.
That's very important.
I think so too.
Yes.
I think so too. We live in America.
Right.
That's the system that works. So why change it? Well, quick view on the future. The future of the business of building homes from, I would call you an expert. I mean, you've as long as I've known you, you're a very impressive guy. You're also a very humble guy. I remember giving you a call and having you come directly to my house on, I think it was like a Saturday or a Sunday morning or something like that.
It was on Christmas Eve.
It was Christmas. You remember. Yes. You remember. So I've come on a little tour with Albert because one of the things he wanted to point out, he genuinely, his idea was he wanted to point this out. And he wanted to point out our sockets and our switches. Why is that?
Well, one of the things you guys do standard is the Decora switches and the Decora plugs. Most builders, they use the standard either toggle switches or the standard plugs, but you guys actually upgrade to the Decora with the screwless plates. And that is a huge upgrade cosmetically. It looks phenomenal. And it's just a very nice feel for your house.
It's got a really clean finish, and it's one of the things that, I'm always searching, not just for the COSI, right? So I love construction science. I want the house to be as tight and as well made as possible. My thinking is I want your grandkids to bring up their grandkids in the house I'm building you today. But the other thing is that there's an aesthetic quality, and I love the concept of that refined, gentle elegance that's timeless and doesn't encroach. But at the same time, there's these moments, these silly little moments where you just go, oh, I'm really pleased I have that. Oh, there's something elegant about that. And one of those things is, getting into bed at night, turning a switch off, just plugging a vacuum in. I don't know, but it's one of the things that I'm really glad that you helped us with.
Definitely.
The other thing is I really like is the cans and the way that we do the cans. And the way we do the cans is probably a little different than most people are doing today. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. The recess cans you guys use, They're a 6-inch baffle. The bulb is recessed up into the ceiling. Also with that, if a customer doesn't like the color or if they don't like the style, there's 50 different options for the type of cans you use instead of what's currently going on with other customers where it's a surface mount light and it's just a, either a disc or a glass fixture or something like that. The quality is really nice, and the aesthetics is amazing. So I really like that as well.
Because it's like a retro fit can, really, isn't it? That's the light that we're putting in, is that LED retro.
Correct.
So you have an actual housing for a recess can, right?
Yes.
But then we come back and we do the retrofit LED. Now, that gives you a myriad of options. I mean, it'd probably be a pain in the backside to change them all out if you wanted to one day, but you could if you wanted to.
You can. You have that option, and it's really nice.
But these things last forever.
50,000 hours on average.
Which, here is just such a big deal. The discs that a lot of people are using, I think, and I don't want to use this as a negative way, but it just, maybe to my generation, it seems cheaper to use those little disc surface mount things. It's like the old flush mount lights that people used to use, in the production homes until recently, or maybe they still do, I don't know, but they always seemed like, oh, I've got to do something about that. But I mean, maybe it's a generational thing, I don't know.
I think it is, because I like this is in my house, and basically all the electricians that we use, they feel the same way, the same mentality of just the way it looks great.
Thanks for taking the time, mate, walking around here. Let's go back to the living room.
Sounds good.
So, from your perspective, from your expert perspective, and I would consider you an expert. I mean, you've been in this industry 30 years. You've learnt it from the ground up. You've followed the rules, and I love following the rules, right? Life is easier if you follow the rules. But not only that, you've excelled at them, like in terms of not just running a business, the great American dream, but also in terms of, your duty of care and what you've taken on. I've never met anyone more functional in a business context than you. I know that if I call you up and I say, hey, this is happening, at no point do you ever sit there and go, that's not my problem. Looking to the future, there's things you control and things you can't, right? As you look to the future, what do you think the next 5-10 years hold for us? But also, what would you like it to hold? Because as I look to the past, I'm as we record this, I mean, it's the 13th of September, 2024. So I go back 20 years, 20 years ago, we didn't have smartphones. Maybe we were using flip phones or something. I think texting was a newish thing. I can't really remember. Our electrical, we had big square boxes, that were very deep for our TVs and everything. So the world has changed dramatically, and a lot of that has impacted you guys, and obviously us as well. But if you were to project forward and just guess, speculate, what do you think some of the things are that we will be seeing in the future from your side of things that we would need to be aware of? And then what would you like to see?
Well, there's a few things coming out that are hitting the market now. Obviously, there's smart panels that are coming out. There's one manufacturer there's actually a couple, but there's one leader for a manufacturer. Wi-Fi breakers. I mean, as we keep going, the technology just keeps improving. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to monitor, electrical breakers from your phone. You're going to be able to turn things on and off from your phone that are your electrical. Like, hey, I left my oven on, and now I'm at the mall. I can turn the oven off, from your phone. There's going to be things like that. Everything's evolving. The National Electrical Code changes when, something catastrophic happens and somebody dies because of this, or there's mm-hmm. certain issues that happen. They change the code. We're always going to see that. I mean, right now they're changing the way smoke detectors are. So the new technology smoke detectors are coming out. So basically, as we evolve, electrical is going to evolve too, and we just have to keep up with it.
Yeah. I know you're a busy guy. I think the time you've taken for us generally, but also this morning, is a great reflection on the way you are and the way you run your company. I'm really grateful, mate, for you coming out today.
Well,
thank you so much. Obviously, you know, I probably owe you lunch. So, I often say that, by the way, and that's my excuse to be able to go out and have lunch. That is my love language, food. But I really do enjoy when we get together. I enjoy when we talk like this. I enjoy when we have a bite to eat, because you give me so much more depth and insight into what's coming down the pipe so we can be ahead. But thank you very much for doing this. Thanks for putting up with me today. And I'll see you a week, 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
All right.
Listen, thank you everyone for going through this. I think the electrical systems is such an important component of anybody's house, because it's such an important component of our future. Regardless of, you know, perspective, beliefs, or situation, I think the inevitability of the electric world is on us. You know, we've had a very interesting discussion about smart panels, where they are today and where they're going to go. And if you ever want to know more about that, please feel free to reach out to our relationship managers. But again, thank you very much for sitting through this. I'm going to find some more unlucky trade partners to ambush and get them over here so that we can do some more kind of trade talks in the future. So we'll see you on the next one.